Antarctica is the last frontier. It holds our imagination. Old maps that said, "Here be monsters." Last remaining territory on the planet that could have such a designation is Antarctica.
Something seems to be going on this mysterious continent at the South Pole. And it has been theorized by a number of people that Antarctica is some kind of alien base.
For over a century, explorers could visit Antarctica freely. Scientists mapped its coastlines, governments claimed territories, and even tourists took expeditions to see it for themselves. Then suddenly, in 1959, everything changed. The Antarctic Treaty locked down the entire continent under the most restrictive international agreement in human history. They say it's to keep people safe because you'll die if you go there. But locking down an entire continent? That doesn't really make a lot of sense. That's extreme. Whatever's down there, whether it's ancient treasure, advanced technology, or a truth we're not supposed to know, someone somewhere decided the rest of us don't get to find out. We can only speculate, and that's exactly what we're going to do. So buckle up, because we're about to pry open the coldest lockbox on Earth, Antarctica. Let's start with the mind-bending stuff first. We'll get into the more speculative theories later, but these are facts that sound like conspiracies. In 1929, workers cleaning out an old Turkish palace stumbled upon a bizarre discovery. Hidden in the archives was a map drawn in 1513 by Admiral Piri Reis, a famous Ottoman cartographer. And here's the strange part. This isn't some random document or fringe conspiracy artifact. It's real. It's in a museum. But what it shows seems impossible. The map accurately depicts the coastline of Antarctica over 300 years before the continent was supposedly discovered. How could that be possible? It shows the actual coastline of Antarctica, accurate to within just a few miles. Now you might be thinking, so what's the big deal?
Well, the problem is that the coastline of Antarctica has been buried under ice for millions of years.
No one in 1513 should have had any idea what it looked like or how to find out. Admiral Piri Reis even wrote on the map itself that he compiled it from ancient sources, some dating back to the 4th century BC. That's a long, long time ago. So yeah, that's confusing. Then, in 1960, the US Air Force analyzed the map and confirmed that its geographical details matched modern seismic surveys of the actual bedrock beneath Antarctica's ice sheet. How could they have known that? I don't know, you tell me. If you're a science person, feel free to jump in the comments. But seriously, think about what that means. Someone, thousands of years ago, mapped Antarctica before it was covered in ice. Someone with the kind of technology that could survey an entire continent from above. But it gets even stranger. In 1531, another map appeared. This one by Oronteus Phineas, a completely different guy. And it showed even more detail of the southern land, rivers, mountain ranges, coastlines, and oddly enough, a swastika symbol. Why would they put that there? We'll get to that in Chapter 2. What's fascinating is that several of these geographical features match the hidden topography beneath miles of ice, terrain that modern scientists only discovered using ground-penetrating radar in the 20th century. How? Well, critics, of course, have their explanations. They say it's all just a coincidence. Maybe Oronteus Phineas was simply guessing or drawing a mythical southern continent that never existed. And sure, that's possible. People back then were very creative storytellers. But the strange part is this: these maps don't look like wild guesses or fantasy doodles. They look like precise geographical surveys, records of a world that's been hidden for thousands of years. Anyway, how about Lake Vostok? Because there's more. 2.5 miles beneath the Antarctic ice lies a hidden lake the size of Ontario, yes, the Canadian province. This lake has been completely sealed off from the surface world for over 15 million years. From now on, I'm just going to call us surface dwellers, because that's exactly what we are. Now, Lake Vostok isn't speculative at all, it's real. Russian scientists spent 20 years drilling through solid ice to reach it, and in 2012, they finally broke through. What they discovered down there completely reshaped our understanding of life on Earth. The lake itself is pristine, untouched, a perfect time capsule from an era when Antarctica wasn't frozen, but green and warm. And that's not a conspiracy, it's a scientific fact. Antarctica really was once lush and temperate, like a prehistoric paradise. When scientists collected samples from Lake Vostok, they found bacteria that had evolved in total isolation, life forms that had been cut off from the rest of Earth for millions of years. These microorganisms had developed survival mechanisms unlike anything else known to science. They lived in complete darkness, under crushing pressure, with no oxygen, and yet somehow they thrived. How is that even possible? Researchers discovered at least 17 distinct species of microbes in the waters of Lake Vostok, some so unique they represent entirely new branches of the tree of life. They don't rely on sunlight, they feed on chemicals. They can transform metals in ways we still don't fully understand. And they can survive in conditions that would instantly kill any of us, fragile surface dwellers. Now, the implications of this discovery are staggering. If life can exist in Lake Vostok's impossible environment, then life could also exist in other impossible environments, like beneath the icy crust of Europa or Enceladus, the moons of Jupiter and Saturn. And here's the kicker. Lake Vostok is just one of over 140 subglacial lakes discovered beneath Antarctica. We have no idea what's in the others, and we can't reach most of them anyway. You can't exactly get a drill bit that long. Believe me, people have asked. There could be entire ecosystems beneath Antarctica that have evolved completely separately from everything we know here on the surface. Now, let's talk about something even stranger, blood falls. And yes, these are real photos. You're probably thinking, what on earth is that? Oh, this? Don't worry, it's just blood-colored waterfalls pouring out of a glacier in Antarctica. Totally normal, right? In the McMurdo Dry Valleys, and if McMurdo rings a bell, you've probably seen The Thing, one of my favorite movies ever, and a perfect example of cosmic horror. There's a glacier called Taylor Glacier, and from it, something bleeds. The so-called blood falls look like crimson streams of liquid oozing out of the ice, staining it a deep red. For over a century, nobody knew what caused it. People literally thought it might be a gateway to hell. But as it turns out, it's actually stranger than that. It's ancient seawater, trapped beneath the glacier for over 5 million years, now slowly leaking out. And that water isn't just salty, it's alive. The red color comes from iron oxide, basically rust, but not the kind formed by normal oxidation. This iron oxide is being produced by microbes. These extraordinary organisms, known as extremophiles, are among the most resilient and fascinating forms of life on Earth. The name comes from the Latin extremus, meaning extreme, and the Greek philos, loving, literally meaning lovers of extremes. They consume the metal, process it, and release iron oxide as waste. That's what turns the water red. So yeah, just a little blood leaking from the ice. Totally fine. Nothing weird about that at all. Except, it gets weirder. Scientists have also detected massive geothermal activity beneath Antarctica, heat signatures that don't match any known geological models of the continent. In fact, published research shows that the heat flux near the South Pole is measuring twice the expected values. Something down there is generating a lot of heat, and nobody really knows why. Now, that might not sound all that dramatic, but we're talking about millions of watts of unexplained energy generation. Is it those little chemosynthetic extremophiles chewing on sulfur and iron? Who really knows? Something deep beneath the ice is producing massive amounts of heat, so much that it's creating vast networks of underground hot water systems and caverns we're only just beginning to map. Ground-penetrating radar and geological surveys have revealed enormous voids beneath the Antarctic ice sheet. And we're not talking about tiny air pockets here. These are massive cavities, large enough to fit entire cities. And here's the part that raises eyebrows. They don't appear to be natural formations. The heat signatures don't line up with volcanic activity, radioactive decay, or any other known geothermal process. They're too large, too organized, too purposeful. Whatever is generating this heat has been active for a very long time, quietly reshaping the frozen underworld of Antarctica from below. Okay, granted, that sounds a little conspiratorial, but something is going on down there, and we don't fully understand what it is because it's so remote and buried miles beneath the ice. Recent satellite data even shows that the ice is melting from underneath and the rate is accelerating. Scientists say this isn't caused by surface warming, it's from an internal heat source that current models struggle to explain. Which, to be fair, is totally normal in science. That's literally how discovery works. Or maybe it's because there's something else under there. Something not from here. I mean, haven't you seen the thing? Yeah, some pretty strange stuff happening in Antarctica. Maybe I should go check it out myself. Just kidding. So Act 1 was all about the real, documented mysteries of Antarctica, things that science acknowledges but still can't fully explain. Act 2. That's where we take a deep dive into the darker, far more secretive side of Antarctic history. Between 1938 and 1939, Nazi Germany launched a massive expedition to Antarctica. And no, they weren't there for the penguins. They were looking for something called vril, a supposed source of boundless energy tied to ancient knowledge. Their ultimate goal, the legendary land of Hyperborea. This mission was led by Captain Alfred Richer aboard the ship Schwabenland. And if that name rings a bell, you've probably heard the stories. During this expedition, the team mapped over 350,000 square kilometers of Antarctic territory. They conducted aerial reconnaissance flights and even dropped thousands of metal swastika markers across the ice to claim the region for the Third Reich. They called it Neuschwabenland or New Swabia. What exactly is Neuschwabenland? Well, the area where the Nazis dropped all those metal markers was named New Schwabenland or Neuschwabenland after the German region of Swabia in southern Bavaria. Bavaria, land of pretzels, beer, and apparently Antarctic expeditions. Now, this wasn't some small scientific trip. It was a territorial conquest. And if there's one thing the Nazis were known for, it was territorial conquest. Officially, they were there to set up whaling stations and secure more land for Germany.
But some researchers and theorists believe there may have been something darker behind the mission.
According to this theory, the Nazis discovered warm water zones beneath the ice, regions heated by geothermal vents. And it's said that within these areas, they established a secret base known as Base 211. That's the theory, at least. According to legend, Base 211 became a refuge for high-ranking Nazis after Germany's defeat in 1945, and possibly a development center for advanced technology, including the mysterious vril-powered flying craft, sometimes called the Bell or the Acorn. Have you seen this thing? I haven't seen it in person, but I've seen pictures of it floating around online. People claim it looked like a small metallic UFO allegedly built using vril energy. So is Base 211 real? Honestly, we don't know. What is certain is that the Nazis really did go there. They really did mark the territory. And some of those markers are still standing today. Now, after the war, reports began surfacing of German U-boats appearing where they shouldn't have been, way down in the southern oceans. Some even believe those submarines stopped in Antarctica before continuing to Argentina, where several high-ranking Nazis were later confirmed to have fled. It's a deep rabbit hole, and this video isn't meant to prove it one way or another. but it definitely adds another layer to Antarctica's mystery. In 1946, just 1 year after Nazi Germany's surrender, the United States launched Operation Highjump, led by Admiral Richard E. Byrd. You've probably heard of it. It's one of the most talked about Antarctic missions in history. Officially, it was described as a large-scale scientific expedition. But in reality, it was a massive military operation involving 4,700 personnel, 13 ships, and 33 aircraft, all remarkably well armed for a training exercise. The mission was supposed to last 8 months. Instead, it ended abruptly after just 8 weeks. The official explanation? Harsh weather conditions and equipment failures. But the sudden and unexpected termination of such a large-scale operation has fueled decades of speculation. Many believe Admiral Byrd encountered something far beyond normal explanation, something hostile and possibly technologically advanced. Theories often point to Byrd's alleged statements after the mission, stories claiming he spoke of mysterious flying craft capable of incredible speed, or even of descending into the Earth itself. According to legend, Byrd's so-called secret diary describes an encounter with Nordic-like beings, tall, pale figures adorned with swastika-like symbols, who lived in a vast hidden realm within the hollow Earth, accessible only through Antarctica. Now, whether that diary actually exists is still debated to this day. But Operation Highjump was very real, and the mystery surrounding it remains one of the strangest episodes in modern history. Beautiful green trees, soft grass, blue skies. Imagine that right in the middle of Antarctica, a paradise beneath the ice. And according to the alleged secret diary, Admiral Byrd described meeting tall, pale humanoid beings, white-skinned, long-haired, beautiful, communicating telepathically. They told him, "Do not use nuclear weapons. We are not your enemies. We come in peace." Apparently, there were symbols everywhere. Swastikas, ancient emblems, and strange runes. These beings claimed they weren't Nazis, but rather guardians, a race far older, trying to prevent humanity from destroying itself. Now, whether you believe that or not, most of this story seems to be, let's say, creatively exaggerated. Still, it makes for one of the wildest Antarctic legends ever told. But here's something that actually did happen. During Operation Highjump, on January 30th, 1947, Lieutenant Commander David Bunger, a real guy with a name straight out of an action movie, spotted something that defied all expectations. While flying a reconnaissance mission, he saw a vast area of ice-free land surrounded by towering glaciers, an oasis in the middle of Antarctica. It wasn't snow, it wasn't ice, it was open water, with blue and green lakes stretching for miles. Admiral Byrd called it the most important discovery of the expedition. Bunger even landed his seaplane on one of the lakes, the water temperature, 38 degrees Fahrenheit, remarkably warm for Antarctica. The team found colored algae, flowing water, and a landscape that looked almost alien. Byrd said it resembled another planet. This place is called Bunger Oasis, and yes, it's real, a warm, ice-free zone in one of the coldest places on Earth. Modern satellite imagery has revealed even stranger details. Several pyramid-shaped formations have been spotted across Antarctica, geometric structures roughly 180 feet wide and over 230 feet tall. Their surfaces are smooth, symmetrical, and remain ice-free, even in brutal conditions. Coincidence? Maybe. But here's where it gets weird. Whenever researchers or curious internet users try to verify the coordinates, the locations often vanish. Sometimes they're blurred, other times they're completely removed from Google Earth. Why? Nobody seems to know. Antarctica has quietly become one of the world's most active UFO hotspots. Pilots, scientists, and even tourists have reported seeing glowing disks emerging from beneath the ice, lights moving at impossible speeds, and strange metallic objects caught on station cameras before mysteriously disappearing. It's as if something down there is awake, watching. In 2018, a Google Earth user claimed to have discovered what looked like a massive entrance carved into the Antarctic ice. and when people tried to verify the location, the coordinates had vanished, removed from public access, the images digitally wiped. Now, aside from mysterious doorways, scientists have detected something even stranger: radio signals coming from beneath the ice. An experiment called the Antarctic Impulsive Transit Antenna, or ANITA, recorded powerful bursts of radio energy rising from under the ice. But here's the weird part: these signals don't match any known natural phenomenon. In fact, they appear to violate the laws of particle physics as we currently understand them. These radio waves were being detected from below the horizon, which, shouldn't be possible. It's a theory that suggests our planet might actually contain a habitable inner world, a vast realm hidden beneath our feet and accessible through openings at the poles. One in the north and one in the south, where Admiral Byrd supposedly flew his little exploratory craft straight into the unknown. Now, there are a few pieces of evidence that self-proclaimed geniuses like to point to when discussing the Hollow Earth. Admiral Byrd's alleged alien encounters, unusual aurora phenomena around Antarctica, magnetic anomalies that cause navigation systems to malfunction, and my personal favorite, satellite imagery showing missing data around both poles. So, basically, it's like they're hiding something. And you know what? That's fine. I don't need to know. I'm happy just being a regular person who loves their family and pays their taxes. Life's not that bad. I don't need to meet aliens living inside the planet. But seriously, we checked. The poles on Google Earth are blurry.
You zoom in and, just fuzzy white nothingness.
Now, I don't think the actual poles look blurry in real life, but on Google Earth, they sure do. There are entire regions of both the North and South Pole with missing or distorted data. Why? Well, scientists say it's just a limitation of satellite orbits, that the imaging paths don't cross directly over the poles. But of course, I and my fellow geniuses interpret these gaps as clear evidence of, you guessed it, hidden entrances to the Hollow Earth. Or at the very least, some kind of cover-up. And here's the thing, the Hollow Earth isn't even a new idea. The ancient Greeks talked about Hades, a vast world beneath the surface. The Buddhists have Agartha, an enlightened subterranean realm. For as long as humans have told stories, we've imagined mysterious civilizations beneath our feet, while we, the poor surface dwellers, shuffle around up here on the crust. And when you look at Antarctica, a place covered by miles of ancient ice, largely unexplored, with documented anomalies, it becomes the perfect canvas for that dream. A hidden world, a lost civilization, or something even stranger. So to sum it up, the Nazis did go to Antarctica. Operation Highjump really happened. And yes, satellite imagery still shows areas of missing data around the poles. Coincidence? Maybe. But if there really is a world inside this one, Antarctica would be the doorway. There are things happening in Antarctica that completely defy our understanding of science, even particle physics. And then of course there's the ice wall theory. Yeah, that one deserves its own full video, 'cause it's a rabbit hole all by itself. Let's just say, I know a pilot, and according to him, he's seen it. Apparently. Allegedly. But what really keeps me up at night, what's truly unsettling about all of this, isn't the UFOs or the Hollow Earth. It's the resources. Because Antarctica isn't just a frozen wasteland, it's the most resource-rich place on Earth. In 1991, a bunch of countries signed something called the Madrid Protocol. That agreement banned all mining in Antarctica until the year 2048. And that's only 23 years away. When that treaty expires, a 75% vote among the signatory nations could open the continent for resource extraction. So suddenly, all the secrecy, all the restricted zones, and you can't go there policies start to make a lot more sense. Antarctica contains an estimated 200 billion barrels of oil, more than Saudi Arabia. Its mineral wealth includes gold, platinum, and rare earth elements like neodymium, the stuff used in your phone, electric cars, and fighter jets. And let's not forget the microscopic alien-looking bacteria that turn iron into sulfur and iron oxide. You can't put a price tag on something that unique. On top of that, Antarctica's coal reserves dwarf the rest of the planet's combined, and it holds 70% of Earth's fresh water locked in ice. That makes it the most valuable piece of real estate on Earth. A literal frozen treasure chest. So yes, the Madrid Protocol protects it for now. And yes, extraction costs are insanely high. But when those barriers drop, when technology advances, you can bet someone's going to go after it. Which raises the real question. If resource extraction is supposedly banned, why is there still such a massive military presence there? Why are world powers quietly positioning themselves for 2048? Why does every major nation care so much about a frozen, lifeless desert at the bottom of the planet? Maybe it's not so lifeless after all. By the way, yes, it is technically possible to go to Antarctica. If you're not a military insider or a government researcher, you can still visit as a tourist. There are tours, cruises, even adventure expeditions. But don't pack your bags just yet. You're looking at tens of thousands of dollars, minimum. And the real challenge isn't even the money, it's the paperwork. Every commercial operator has to go through an international association called the IAATO, the International Association of Antarctica Tour Operators. And through that system, only 100 people are allowed ashore at any given time from cruise ships. Every landing site must be pre-approved, every single activity monitored. So yes, you can visit Antarctica, but only the parts they want you to see. It's like getting a guided tour of North Korea. You're allowed to explore, just not really explore. Now, if you think you can just charter your own expedition, good luck. You'll need permits from your home country, environmental impact assessments, insurance that most companies won't even touch, and search and rescue guarantees that cost more than the trip itself. Antarctica isn't protected by ice walls or alien fortresses. Its biggest barrier is legal, an invisible wall of bureaucracy that keeps the average person out. 7 nations claim chunks of Antarctica: Argentina, Australia, Chile, France, New Zealand, Norway, and the United Kingdom. Each one guards its piece of the pie under the Antarctic Treaty. And together, they've turned the most remote place on Earth into the most tightly controlled one. Some of these national claims actually overlap, which you'd think would cause international incidents. But they don't, thanks to Article 4 of the Antarctic Treaty, which freezes all territorial disputes as they stood in 1959. You might have noticed I didn't mention that the United States, Russia, or even Nazi Germany had claims. Well, the Nazis don't anymore. They're gone. But the reason is simple. No one can officially own Antarctica. Still, there are 7 nations that did claim their pieces first, and they kind of get to act like they still own them. When it comes to controlling their sectors, it's a legal maze, a bureaucratic paradox. Let's say you want to investigate something in the British Antarctic territory. You'd need permission from the UK. But if the UK doesn't officially own it because of the treaty, then technically they can't control it. Yet, they do control access because of their claim. But other nations don't recognize that claim because of the treaty. See what I mean? It's confusing. It's like a bureaucratic Mobius strip, endless loops that end up at the same conclusion. You're not getting in. And while the paperwork keeps explorers out, other nations are quietly moving in. China, for example, has gone from 0 Antarctic bases to 5 in just a few decades. They call it research, but it looks an awful lot like resource mapping. It's the same playbook they're using in Africa. The US runs 3 year-round stations, flying military cargo planes back and forth regularly. Russia maintains several bases conducting operations that have nothing to do with penguins. They don't exactly seem like scientific projects, more like strategic positions, quietly waiting for 2048, when resource extraction could finally become legal. Then there's McMurdo Station, the largest base in Antarctica. Guess who operates it? Raytheon. Yeah, a defense contractor, best known for advanced weapons systems. So why is the biggest research base in Antarctica run by a weapons manufacturer? We'll probably never know, born secret and all that. So when someone tells you Antarctica is off limits for environmental protection, feel free to laugh a little and ask them this. If it's just about protecting the environment, then why does the entire legal framework look exactly like the kind you'd build if you wanted to keep something incredibly valuable locked away from everyone else? And make sure you say it in your best mocking voice. Because Antarctica isn't protected by international law. It's controlled by international law, by the global powers that run it. But of course, if you make fun of them, you'll probably get a snarky response. Something like, Antarctica isn't just another continent. Antarctica isn't actually just another continent. It's a living climate control system for the entire planet. Antarctica holds about 70% of the world's fresh water, all locked away in ice. If that ice were to melt, global sea levels would rise dramatically. And if the Antarctic weather were to shift even slightly, the entire planet would feel it. Its ecosystem is also unbelievably fragile. For example, a single footprint in the wrong spot can remain visible for decades. And beneath that ice, there are unique microbial communities that have evolved in isolation for millions of years. Microbes that might hold the keys to medical breakthroughs we can't even imagine yet. So of course, governments take Antarctica very seriously. They'll tell you it's because they care about the environment. They'll say, "We just want to protect this delicate ecosystem and preserve it for science." And when they say that, you can just nod politely. And then hit them with one of these, that look that says, "Sure buddy, totally believable." Because realistically, even small-scale human activity can devastate colonies of penguins, seals, and just about everything else that lives there. And humans, being humans, love introducing non-native species, even microscopic ones, which could be catastrophic for ecosystems, that have no natural defenses against them. So yes, Antarctica is fragile. That part's true. It's also very realistic to protect it carefully. But the question is that really the whole reason it's locked down? And when you take into consideration that Antarctica is arguably the most hostile environment on Earth for human survival, actually, scratch that. It is the most hostile. We're talking about temperatures that can drop to the negative 120 Fahrenheit, winds that reach 200 miles per hour, and blizzards that can last for weeks. That combination of extreme cold, hurricane-force wind, and complete whiteout conditions year-round creates a situation where rescuing a person becomes literally impossible. For example, back in 2013, a Russian research vessel was trapped in ice for 10 days. It took an international rescue effort that cost millions of dollars and put dozens of lives at risk. And those were professionals. So imagine if they let your hungry self up there. Yeah, good luck with that. That's not theoretical. People die in Antarctica regularly, and the logistical challenges of just operating there are staggering. So yes, there are plenty of realistic reasons to keep people out, aside from all the fun conspiracy ones. Think what you will about Antarctica. There are definitely valid reasons to avoid it, and there are also some very suspicious ones. The myths, the lore, the secrets, they're all fascinating. What's not up for debate is this. Antarctica is incredibly valuable. It contains billions of barrels of oil, vast mineral deposits, and 70% of the planet's fresh water.
And if history has taught us anything,
It's that when something is that valuable, governments will lie. And they'll do some really weird stuff to protect it. Anyway, thanks for watching.